Good afternoon, everyone. This is the last breakout session um, on the first day of the conference. We are very happy to be here. Thank you, everyone, for being here. We have 4 speakers in this breakout session. Professor Dr. Charles Chang, and he will be co-presenting this paper together with Mr. Allan Chou. The paper is titled The Great SDGs Challenge, Action Learning to Define Cross-Border Impact Investing. Professor Dr. Charles Chang and Mr. Allan Chou. The paper is entitled The Great SDGs Challenge, Action Learning to Define Cross-Border Impact. I believe that's
okay, can you hear me?
Investing. Yes, please go ahead, Professor Charles.
Yeah, thank you so much for having us. It's a great pleasure for us to have this opportunity to share some of the things that we're doing here in Shanghai at Fudan University. So today I'm together here with my colleague, Professor Allan Chou. And together we're here really going to talk about an approach that we're taking to make sure that what we're teaching has both theoretical and practical impact, and how we're sort of interweaving social responsibility into our sort of traditional business school curriculum. Let me see if I can. Okay, so it's worth mentioning a little bit, at least in terms of the background of our school. So the School of Finance here at Fudan University, we were formed in 2017. We just celebrated our 5th anniversary. And, you know, compared with many of the schools that are here represented today, of course, this is a very young school, sort of in the baby part of our evolution, but important in particular ways. You know, before I joined Fudan University, I spent a number of years, my assistant professorship over at Cornell in the United States. And when I came to China, it started to dawn upon me that, you know, we happen to be entering a new era for business school education. And whereby I think the very early years, we focused a great deal on theoretical rigor. Right? And particularly in finance, we will see that a lot of the science of what we teach really is coming from physics and of course, economics and econometrics, even statistics. But that, you know, as we continue to develop, you know, ours is a social science. Ours is a space that where rigor is incredibly important, but at the same time also relevance and practical application. And how can we train students who will be able to have an impact in the world around us, while at the same time delivering the type of theoretical rigor that ensures their education will continue to be true and important and solid in the years and decades to come. So when we formed our educational mission, again, with the benefit of 30 or 40 years of business schools evolution to learn from, we built it on what we call our 3 R's, sort of our mission-based foundation of learning of rigor, relevance, and responsibility. And importantly, we really view that as of equal importance and of equal vigor in the design of our curriculum. So on the rigor side, of course, we need to develop and do the kind of high-level discipline academic research as we've come to expect now from any of the top educational institutions, bringing in sort of the top talent from around the world, and basing our design on, you know, sort of the top standards from the world's leading business schools. But to that, I think we always want to be sure that we are ultimately relevant to the universe, to the world around us. And that really is twofold. I think first, the understanding of why does economics and finance matter in the world? But also, what are the big questions in the world that should matter to finance and to this finance community? And that's why responsibility is equally important with theoretical rigor and practical relevance. So one of the tools that we use sort of to achieve this is what we call action learning, and this is a term used by many schools around the world. But I think our implementation perhaps is unique. Every single one of our compulsory courses in our education, all of them are structured in the following way. It's 6 weeks of in-class learning, plus a 2-week experiential learning that we call live learning. And in the live learning, what we do is, and this spans all of our degrees, from the pre-experience to post-experience, even to our executive learning. The live learning 2-week experiential is actually run jointly by our faculty and by business leaders in our community. And in each case, our community leaders and industry leaders will be the people that will pose the relevant questions for our students to work on in project teams. And this evolution we think is important. So, during the classroom, we're able to lay down the theoretical fundamentals. And those, again, are very important, right? Those are the bricks, right? That's the foundation upon which we're going to be learning about relevance, right? First, you must know the tools, then you can talk about how to use the tools. So we still have that aspect of the traditional theory-based learning. And we also, of course, do case studies as are relevant to the curriculum. But case studies, in some ways, as Dr. Lin pointed out, some of them can be difficult to grasp, right? If you've never been in the business, if you've never been part of the business world, if you've never talked with a client, sometimes case studies are not particularly resonating with our young people, particularly those without work experience. And furthermore, case studies can be a little bit goal-driven, right? You get a limited number of questions, and you're supposed to answer those questions and use the nicely delivered data that's in the appendix of the case, and then find the answer. But of course, we know in the real world, as Dr. Lin also pointed out, you can get all different kinds of data, all different kinds of responses from your clients. And it's impossible to house that within, the 6 pages of, a Harvard Business School case study, right? So we know then that even the case method is limited. So what we seek to do is to bring in the leaders from the industry into each and every one of our courses, have them give us a real project, something they've been working on, something that keeps them up at night, or maybe a deal that they did before where they ran into a particular problem. And then we bring that into the classroom, both through our regular curriculum and through our responsibility curriculum. We have cute names for them. In our pre-experience, we call it the C.A.R.E program, standing for Culture, Art, Responsibility, and Ethics. And in our MBA and higher level programs, we call it our Leadership, Innovation, Team Spirit, and again, Ethics programs. So in all of these programs, we have this action orientation. Okay, and of course, at the base of all of this are the UN Sustainable Development Goals, and how do we bring in ideas of inequality, of wealth gap, of financial inclusion, and all of these SDG concepts then into our coursework and classroom. And so today I'd like to just briefly share sort of a couple of case studies of what we're doing. This is something we started a couple of years ago called SDG on Campus. And that was really sort of the launching point of our students helping to deal with some of the issues that we face in Fudan University, anywhere from renewable energy to recycling. And we have sort of 2 branches sort of within our C.A.R.E program. On the investing level, really thinking about ESGs, and on a management level, really thinking about CSR. And so this past year, our new program, our new competition, we're calling it, is called the Great SDG Challenge. So to get quite concrete, we have this year our focus is social entrepreneurship in the Asia Pac region. As you can see at the bottom, we have been very fortunate to have the support and sponsorship of a number of leaders in the space, of course, including Professor Chou's RAIDiCal. And this sort of gives you an example of what we mean by sort of our learning unit. So, so this is just an example of an event we might run whereby we have the lectures in the morning. So we have the distinguished, esteemed colleagues that will come and share their knowledge and their experience in the space. But in addition to sharing their knowledge, they're actually really going to act as coaches. And we'll give each of the students broken down into groups an 8-hour sort of one-day immersion project. In this case, working together with the UNDP Youth Collab program, and give them a social entrepreneurship or impact investing company to look at. And for them to look at social entrepreneurship from the impact investor's point of view. How are these sustainable businesses in the social enterprise space? What question and pain point are they addressing such that they themselves as a business unit can continue to be self-proliferating going forward? And then we have them pitch them, right? This is an important management skill for them to learn, you know, how to pitch and how to engage with investors. So we have them pitch it to a panel of actual VCs, impact investment funds, private equity fund owners, and then have them give the action feedback, right? These are real deals we've been looking at. These are the things that you know, we are concerned about with respect to, you know, your particular social entrepreneurship project. Okay, so we try to bring in the ecosystem. Again, very thankful to UNDP's Youth Collab. And this was our output, so you guys are welcome to download from our QR code. This is a 62-page ebook of all the projects that we were able to generate today, and that our young people, their innovation that we can share. And UNSDG campus continues to move forward going into the future. If we have opportunities to work with you guys, we would love to hear your thoughts on how we can improve you know, our own strategies going forward. Okay, we also interact already with internationally with the Shanghai Berlin Business Student Dialogue, and if any of your schools are interested there, we'd be happy to do that with you too. Okay, so that's it from me. Thank you so much for your time. And you know, Professor Chou will be here to engage with you guys in Q&A.
Thank you very much, Professor Charles. So thank you for also highlighting Professor Allan Chou to continue on with answering the questions later, perhaps. Yeah, that was a very interesting presentation involving quite a number of external parties, yeah, not just within the university itself. Very interesting. So I'm sure there will be a lot of points for discussion later. My next question is directed to Professor Charles Chang and Professor Allan Chou. In your paper, you talked about the Great SDGs Challenge, and you had involved many different parties and many different agencies that came into play in your social enterprise projects. So how were you able to involve them? When you came up with a project, was there a pitch done to the industry or the companies that you had approached? For example, Bosch, you know, did you approach them and pitch them to them, you know, this activity, and they came on board?
Yeah, I mean, the fundamental of all the action programs that we've been doing, one of the things that really is, you know, very critical part of the curriculum is to get the corporates and the you know, different organizations, nonprofits involved early. So what we've done in the past to try to groom, right, because we've only been around for 5 years, is during our interview process for the students, we would have, we will invite speakers from these companies to come and do sharings. So it just doesn't start with the curriculum, but it started way before. Now, I'm a venture capitalist, so I get to talk to a tremendous amount of corporations and startups in my regular job. So I think that's a very important point, is the fact that you want to get industry people, professionals, and experts involved early, so that continuation will be in place. So the pitch is very easy. You know, for schools, I think if there were organizations that would get the full attention of these titans of industry and experts from industries, is the schools, right? It's a part philanthropy. It's their contribution back to the community, and also what's more sustainable than experts and managers and you know, people that are top of their field to teach and mentor the next generation, right? That sustainability is right there. So that's how we do it. We appeal to their sense of passing on the torch, if you will, to the next generation.
That's really very good to know. You know, because, you know, it's heartwarming that the industry really wants to jump in and, you know, be a part of this. This is really very good to know.
Yeah, and you know, when we do at ESG, when we do CSR, when we talk about social responsibility, they have to be involved. Just think that if the students are able to kind of sort of get these very specific concepts, very important concepts in their head before they go out there and intern and land their first job, I mean, that is going to be invaluable, right? And I think that's where we're trying to drive, is to get their feet wet and talk to the real drivers of industries before they head out. Internships are great, but I think that in certain point,
it has to be more.
Yeah, one-to-one is great, and they're getting mentored by their advisors or you know, their mentors. But from a larger scale, when you have 100 students, 115 students, can we do it in a skill, you know, in a skill-up way, right? So that we're actually scaling rather than doing one at a time. So that's more of a methodology, as Paul was saying. Yeah.
Very good, very good. That's really very good and very encouraging for all of us.